He's impulsive. He violates regulations. He doesn't obey the rules. Sometimes he can just be unnecessarily risk-taking. You can also be really tough on people, very mean sometimes. Those are his darker sides, but they're connected.
자, 깊이 있는 전문가들을 모셔서 그들의 인사이트를 들어보는 신과 대화 시간. 오늘은 저희가 앞에 노트북이 놓여 있듯이 매우 스페셜한 분을 모셨습니다. 우리가 또 아인슈타인, 뭐 벤자민 프랭클리, 스티브 잡스 하면은 천재라고
그렇죠.
하잖아요. 근데 이런 사람들을 연구하고 계속 그 전기를 작성해 온 분이 계십니다. 세계에서 가장 유명한 전기 작가이고 우리에게는 스티브 잡스 전기로 더 친숙한 월터 아이작슨 교수님인데요. 글만 잘 쓰시는 게 아니라 CNN 회장, 타임이 선정한 세계에서 가장 영향력 있는 100인에 선정되기도
그쵸.
하셨습니다. 그래서 그분이 오늘은 일론머스크를 어마어마한 시간을 또 투자하셔서 따라다니시면서 직접 인터뷰를 하셨다 그래요.
정말 그래서 부럽죠. 그러니까 기자로서 사실 저는 부럽습니다. 이 셀럽과 오랜 시간을 보내고 그 결과로 책을 한 권 쓸 수 있다라는 그 특권을 누리고 있는 것에 대해서 굉장히 부럽고요. 독자와 전기의 주인공 사이에서 어떻게 균형을 잘 유지하나 그것도 참 부러워요.
그쵸,
그래서 오늘 사실 그 대목도 한번 물어보려고 합니다. 사실.
저희는 또 이제 한국인으로서 투자자로서
네.
그리고 또 저널리스트로서 저희가 테슬라와 얽힌 그런 밸류체인들 그리고 비즈니스적인 것들 그리고 스타트업의 마인드들 그리고 CEO로서 일론 머스크는 어떤 사람일까?
심지어는 저는 사실 그것도 물어보고 싶어요. 아웃사이더 투자자로서 믿고 투자할 만한가? CEO 리스크는 없는가? 그 부분도 사실은 꼭 물어보고 싶습니다.
네. 자, 그러면 현재 툴레인 대학교 역사학과 교수로 재직 중이신 우리 월터 아이작슨 교수님 지금 만나러 가보도록 하겠습니다.
Hello, it's Walter. How's everybody?
Yeah, hello.
Mr. Isaacson, thank you for your time with SamProTV. So how's it convenient to call you?
You can call me Walter if you want.
Okay.
Okay.
Before we get to the point, just like out of curiosity, what's your secret to connect to these people? Like, because you wrote biographies about like Einstein, Benjamin Franklin, Steve Jobs. Now it's Elon Musk, like modern geniuses. So what's your secret?
Well, if it's somebody alive like Steve Jobs or Elon Musk, my secret is I just listen. I don't try to do interviews, in a very strong way. I just sit back for sometimes hours, just letting somebody talk, and I listen to them. With Elon Musk, I said to him, if I'm going to do this book, I have to be by your side day in and day out for weeks at a time. I have to be at every meeting. I have to be at every lunch, every dinner. I have to be sitting there with you when you're playing video games, when you're playing Polytopia on your video game computer. And so I try to just watch somebody and observe. I think if you try to write a book just based on having 5 or 10 interviews, you don't get a storytelling book, a book that feels like a narrative. And I hope the book that I've written, feels like it's some wonderful stories about a really wild person.
As a journalist, I really envy you because you are so succeeding in interview and writing biographers of genius and innovators. But let me ask some technical questions about the how did you write the biography of Elon Musk? He's a so busy businessman, as I know. How did you take his time, and how long did you spend for interview and observing him?
I spent 2 years at sometimes for a week or 2 weeks, being with him all the time. One of the things I asked for was that I just got to go to every meeting and take notes. But it was kind of interesting. The more fun parts were when we walked in the factory, the Tesla factory or the SpaceX factory. And he would go up and down the assembly line looking at how they were wiring the Raptor engines into Starship, or how they were doing little spray paint valves for the Tesla painting part of the line. I realized that one part of his genius is he understands manufacturing. He really believes that designers and engineers should be there on the assembly line watching the product be built so that they can understand how that product can be built better.
Okay, but as far as I know, he only sleeps like 4 or 5 hours a day. So did you make that same pattern?
No. First of all, here's a secret. He doesn't get up until about 9 or 10 in the morning. Now, he may stay up until 2 or 3 at night, but there are very few things that happen, maybe phone calls, but very few things that happen before 9 in the morning. So he doesn't get a whole lot of sleep, and he'll stay up working until maybe midnight or 1 a.m., and then he'll stay up another 2 hours posting on X or writing emails and text messages. But then he'll get 5 or 6 hours of sleep.
Oh, okay. So I was kind of surprising that if you make the same pattern, it would be so painful.
No, look at my face. I've gotten enough sleep,
Okay, so we'll get straight to the point. So many people in Korea, especially SamproTV subscribers, they're waiting for your biography about Elon Musk. So how did you come to write this book?
I've always written about people who are geniuses, but I've come to realize that being a genius means more than just being smart. It means that you can be imaginative and creative and think different, to use Steve Jobs' phrase. And I look at the people who are the greatest innovators of our time, pushing the boundaries of what we do. Those innovators affect history more than prime ministers or presidents do sometimes. By, just with the iPhone and iTunes and the Macintosh, Steve Jobs affected history. Likewise, Elon Musk is bringing us into the era where we're all going to buy electric vehicles in the future. He's brought us into the era where we now do space adventure travel again, where he's recreated the internet with his Starlink satellites in low Earth orbit. And now he's doing things like artificial intelligence, as well as turning what was Twitter into a social network that will do financial transactions and many other things. So he's affecting the world more than anybody else. And I had met Elon a few times, and we just had a very long phone conversation 2 years ago, a little bit more than 2 years ago. And I said, I want to do this book, but 2 things. I want total access, just to be around you all the time. Number 2, you have no control over the book. He didn't even read it yet.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So are you convinced before you interview him, like are you convinced now that he's a innovator of the century?
I think you have to put him up there, maybe with Steve Jobs, Elon Musk. I wrote a book about Jennifer Doudna called The Code Breaker. That was my last book. And she came up with the innovation of using RNA to edit our genetic heritage, our DNA. And I think the life sciences, that innovation will be there. So those are the three most important innovators, and I've written books about all three of them.
Okay, so like if the book comes out, of course I'll read it. But like many people in Korea, there are two opposing views about Musk in Korea. One is that he's a brilliant scientist, innovator, and great businessman. And the other side is that he is impulsive, eccentric, and sometimes unreliable. So as you interviewed him, like which one do you think he more like?
First of all, the answer is both. He is a great innovator, a great entrepreneur. He's also impulsive, immature, eccentric, and can be unreliable. So all of that is true. Of course, I believe that he's going to be remembered not for being eccentric or unreliable or immature or impulsive. He's going to be remembered for being the only people who can get American astronauts into orbit at the moment, for the only company that can move us to the era of electric vehicles. So it's his accomplishments that are the more important thing. Now, here's an interesting thing about a book that I had to deal with. The two things you talked about are connected. He's impulsive. He violates regulations. He doesn't obey the rules. Sometimes he can just be unnecessarily risk-taking. You can also be really tough on people, very mean sometimes. Those are his darker sides, but they're connected to the ability to shoot off rockets, to buy Twitter impulsively. And so you don't get the Elon Musk, who's a great innovator and great entrepreneur, without having some of that impulsive, risk-taking, immature way of doing things.
A few months ago, I interviewed a billionaire, Ken Fisher. He's a billionaire, a hedge fund manager in America. He said that Elon Musk is so erratic and easily changeable. As an outside investor, he said, "Oh, I don't trust him." What would you say to Ken Fisher, such an outside investor's perception?
Well, I'd be a little dubious about putting all my money in a hedge fund that didn't want to buy Tesla stock since it's gone up 20-fold. And if I were a hedge fund and I didn't invest in SpaceX, it's not yet a public company, but people have invested, a lot of investors have, I'd say, boy, I just made a huge mistake. It's true. Elon Musk is impulsive and changeable, but Tesla is worth more money than the next 9 car companies combined. So I would ask any hedge fund manager, I get it. You didn't trust Elon Musk. Which car company or which company did you invest in?
Okay. But like as a investor, like his eccentrical, impulsive, or changeable stance is not really good for the investor. But like, as you interviewed him, like, is he gonna change as the time goes by, or he's gonna be the character as now forever?
If you were investing in Elon Musk and you read my biography, you will bet that Elon Musk will be the same 5 years from now and 10 years from now. He'll be impulsive. Mm-hmm. He'll be unreliable at times. He will make wild predictions that eventually come true, but not as fast as he predicted they would come true. He will also still be sending rockets into orbit. He will own the only privately owned internet in the world. And there'll be a mass market new Tesla car, a smaller, cheaper car that will be the best-selling car in the world. So no, he's not going to change that much. But, you know, since he's become the most successful businessman of our time, maybe that's a good reason to bet on him.
So you want to make a point that he, of course, he has some points that where investors are disappointed, but like there are absolutely much more brighter side about him and his company and his passion.
If you just look at the people who invested in Tesla and SpaceX, they did a lot better than the people who didn't. Wow,
that's so true.
It's interesting. Many economists point that he is a bubble star during the tech bubble period. Bubble star usually shows some character, mindset of master of universe. Did you find such a mindset out of Elon Musk?
Yes. Elon Musk has an epic sense of his role, larger than life. He used to read comic books when he was a kid, and he loved the superheroes. He loved the X-Men. And he said, those people in the comic books, they're always trying to save the world. He said they wear their underpants on the outside and they look ridiculous, but they're still trying to save the world. And Elon Musk has a sense that he's going to bring humanity into the era of exploring other planets, that he's going to bring us into the era of electric vehicles. And so he has a larger than life concept of who he is, even when he's using his Starlink satellites to help Ukraine in the war against Russia. But then he turns them off because he doesn't want Ukraine to attack Crimea. That's a pretty large sense of his own importance.
Walter, it could be a kind of a silly question, but I have to ask this question. If you make a sort of rank of innovator, which place of Elon Musk in your rank of innovator?
Yeah, I would say he's there with Jennifer Doudna and Steve Jobs, as they're the three most important innovators of this century so far.
Compared to, like, as you mentioned, Steve Jobs, what's in common in two characters and what are the differences?
They're both brilliant innovators. And in some ways, you shouldn't compare them. You should read both. You should understand both of them. But one thing they had in common is that they really cared passionately about making a great product. And they distorted reality sometimes. It was called the reality distortion field. They would do things that other people told them was impossible. They both have an extreme curiosity, a spiritual sense of beauty. And I would say that one difference is that Steve Jobs has a better sense of design and beauty and also emotional connection. Elon Musk, not very good on emotional connection. He talks about having Asperger's, meaning he's not very good at relating to other people and having empathy. Steve Jobs was very strong with emotional connection.
You said passion and curiosity they have in common. I just want to know that where does that passion come from Elon?
Part of it comes from childhood. He had a very difficult childhood when he was young. He had a very difficult childhood. He grew up in South Africa. It was violent. He was beaten up as a schoolboy. Not only was he beaten up and his face scarred, but he had psychological scars because his father got angry at him for being beaten up. His father took the side of the bullies. And so there's certain demons, dark demons that jangle around Elon Musk's head ever since he was a kid. And what he's been able to do is he's been able to harness those demons. He's been able to use those demons and turn them into drive.
Great part of biography, I think, is the origin of his psychological scar. Thank you for your giving a tip. Let's suppose I read your biography of Elon Musk. Based on your biography, can I invest in Tesla and or other his business? Is the best choice for?
I mean, I don't give investment advice, and I don't know whether, Tesla's price has gone way, way up in the past 10 years. In 2018, it looked like Tesla was going to go bankrupt. Everything was falling apart. And he went almost crazy, Elon Musk did. He moved to the factory in California and slept on the floor. Every night he walked the line. And he said, if we're going to survive, we have to make 5,000 cars a week. And they said, there's no way we can make 5,000 cars a week. The assembly lines won't do it. We don't have enough things. And he just went to every stage of the assembly line and said, how can you speed it up? You got to get to 5,000 cars a week. And when they finally said, there's no way, we only have 2 assembly lines, he came up with the idea of building a tent, a really large tent, the size of a football field, in the parking lot behind the factory. And they didn't even have an assembly line. They just had a rolling conveyor belt that they put on a downhill slope to move the cars so that it could be a third assembly line. And all of the investors who shorted Tesla stock, and there were a lot of them, they were betting that Tesla stock would go down. They'd make money by shorting the stock if it went down. It was the most shorts ever put on any stock. And by the summer of 2018, they were making 5,000 cars a month. And the people who bet against Tesla stock lost billions of dollars.
I guess you may worry about some possibility whenever you are writing a biography. It could be a kind of a mouthpiece of a person or of a hero. How could you overcome such a conflict between the honest and the third-party describer, and on the other hand, the mouthpiece of a person?
If you read the book, you'll see it's just narrative storytelling. I tell you the stories, and some of them are really bad. Some of them make Musk look really bad. Some of them are times when he made big mistakes, when he was a horrible person to the people around him, when he did things that got people angry. I also tell you the stories of the times where he pushed people and drove them crazy, but he also drove them to do things they didn't think they could do. There's times when they were trying to get the rocket ship known as Starship ready in Texas. And one Friday night at 10 o'clock, he goes to the launch pad and he sees that there are only 2 people working. And he gets furious. And the supervisor says, well, it's Friday night at 10 p.m. and we don't have any launches scheduled. And he just totally, I was standing there, his face turns red and he keeps yelling at the people there. And he finally says, I want 200 people by the end of this weekend working on Sunday to get things done. Now, some of the people were so upset they quit. But a lot of them flew in from around the country to do what he called the surge. Well, that surge got it so the rocket was stacked. You can read that story and you can end up thinking, boy, Elon Musk is a real bad jerk. You can also say he really is a tough boss. So I just let the reader decide, all right, I get it. There's good sides and bad sides, but most of all, they're interesting sides. All of these stories are interesting. So I try to be absolutely honest and just tell you the story exactly as it happened and let you be the judge of how much you hate or how much you like Elon Musk, or maybe both. Maybe you both like him and hate him.
Okay, so you highlighted both good side, bad side. So we Korean readers gonna decide after reading the book, yeah?
Yeah, I think Korean readers will be particularly interested because, you know, Korea has a passion for making great products, and it has a passion for designing great products and manufacturing great products. It has a passion for understanding how those go together, and that's very much like Elon Musk. And, you know, he, I think at some point will spend some time in Korea.
Okay, so you mentioned narratives about Elon Musk. Can you introduce us just one interesting episode as you like spend time with him?
I'll give you one from Christmas Eve this past
Christmas Eve.
a few months ago. He was at a meeting at Twitter headquarters a couple days before Christmas. And he was upset that the company was spending large amounts of money on 3 different facilities where it had servers that would store and serve up computer servers, the Twitter feed. And he said, let's get rid of the facility in Sacramento. And he said, I want to do it this week, because if you started a new year, you had to pay rent for the next year. And of course, the people at Twitter said, we can't do that in a week. It's impossible. Well, that's a bad thing to say to Elon Musk. And they said, well, and we need those. We need the backup. And the rules mean we have to back things up. He doesn't like rules, and he doesn't like people who say, you can't do it this fast. So he was angry. And on Christmas Eve, December 24th, he gets in his plane with 2 of his young cousins, James and Andrew. And they're flying from California to Texas for Christmas. And as they are in the air, James says, why don't we just go take those servers out ourselves? And Elon Musk starts laughing. I mean, it's a crazy idea. I mean, it takes, 100 people to help unpack servers and move them. But he turns his plane around and he lands in Sacramento, and they drive to the building that has the servers, and they find somebody who's going to let them in at Christmas Eve that day, open the locked doors and the security, and they go in, and the people there say, you can't get those servers out. You need an electrician to do the cables, and you need a mechanic to undo the floor. And Elon Musk asks somebody for a pocket knife and lifts up the panel on the floor, goes under the floor with a cable cord cutter and cuts it. And then they carry the servers and the computers out to a rental truck to start driving them away. They do about 200 of them. It was insane. But he wanted to prove you could actually get rid of those servers and move them. And typical of Elon, this answers your question about both sides. It sounded like an amazing Elon story. But a week or two later, Twitter's having problems. It goes down a bit. When Ron DeSantis was announcing for president on Twitter, it was trouble getting the video out because they didn't have enough servers. So it's both the good side of Elon Musk and the bad side. And you look now, Twitter's doing fine. It's got a lot of video. It doesn't have to pay for those servers. So you can read that story of him being impulsive, but him also having a feel for the fact that you can just get those servers and you don't need to be told it can't be done. And that's all sides of Elon Musk. So when you say, is it a favorable, analysis or unfavorable, you have to say it's both, because Elon is both.
I'm just curious that Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, and X, former Twitter, Starlink, to name a few, like how does Musk efficiently manage time to run those great mega companies? How does it work?
What he does when I was with him for the past 2 years is every hour or so, he focuses on something different. He may spend time at a meeting focusing on how they're going to deal with the heat shields for the engines in the rocket, or how they're going to deal with the new batteries for the Tesla battery pack, or how they're going to deal with blue check marks on the Twitter site. And he'll do that focus and not think of anything else. He won't be distracted by his other businesses. And then he moves on to the next thing, and he focuses. At each of these businesses, he has good people who help run the things that Elon's not focused on. Gwen Shotwell runs a lot of the daily work at SpaceX. Siobhan Zillis manages Neuralink on a daily basis. At Tesla, he's got Tom Zhu, who you may know, who does a lot of this.
So you're saying the intensity of the focus makes the difference in outcome. So my 1 hour and Musk's 1 hour, the intensity of focus will be so much different. Is it right?
Well, yes. I mean, he focuses on details sometimes. At one point, they were walking in Los Angeles looking at how the new rockets were going to be built. And they were using, carbon fiber and other advanced materials. And he said, why don't we just do it in stainless steel? And everybody said, well, stainless steel is too heavy. You can't make a rocket out of it. He said, no, at the right temperature, it would be lighter and to be just as strong. And they all thought he was crazy, but they tried it out. And Starship is now built out of stainless steel. So he'll focus and he'll solve a specific problem. And yeah, sometimes, because I'm not telling you that he's always doing a good job, sometimes he'll be focused on something, and other things, there'll be problems. There have been problems getting Cybertruck built. There have been problems. Starship launched for 3 minutes, but then, there was an accident. So he doesn't always get things right. Pulling those servers out of Sacramento was both brilliant and amazing, but it also wasn't totally right. So he says if he's not making 20% mistakes, if he's not deleting 20% too many parts, if he's not making 20% too many changes, then he's not pushing hard enough. So he's willing to make mistakes. He's willing to take risks. And you and I and people these days are less willing to take risks than he is. And I also think that's why our businesses, our society is not as innovative as it used to be. Why we don't have great high-speed rail in the United States, well, you know, because people are afraid to take risks.
Walter, so let me ask you about your personal plan. May I guess the biography of Elon Musk is your final work, or as a biographer, or do you have any plan to write another hero story?
Oh, I love writing hero stories, and it was so much fun doing Elon Musk that, you know, even if just for the fun of it, I want to do more of these. But Elon Musk was sort of the most exciting, the most thrilling, the most contradictory, as we've said, good and bad. And so I'll write some other books, but this is the one that will be the most memorable.
My question to the many Korean, especially investors or businessmen, are very interested that if any chance Musk mentioned Korean market as in Tesla's connection or SpaceX or anything else when spending time with you as an important market or any mentioning.
Yeah, he obviously believes not only is it an important market, but it's a great place for manufacturing. And he'll be expanding in China, but he loves going to Asia. And now that Korea is such an important part of the Asian system, and we even had, as you know, the great summit at Camp David, where the Koreans and the Japanese seem to have a better relationship. I think, you know, that will help Korea and other Asian countries. So I think Musk loves the market in Korea, and he loves the fact that Koreans, including, you know, many companies, and I won't single them all out, make great cars in Korea. And I think he believes that Korea is now ripe for having more electric vehicles.
Just like one more last question,
okay.
Like,
of course.
Finally, I'm 100% sure that when your biography about Elon Musk comes out in Korea, it's gonna be the bestseller in every bookstore. I'm pretty sure. So, like, if you wanna tell to the SamproTV subscribers or viewers, tell us why we should read that book.
First of all, it's interesting. You know what you do at dinner when you go out with friends? You say, let me tell you a story. And you try to tell them the most interesting stories of the things that happened to you today. Well, this guy's got a lot of interesting stories. Secondly, those stories help you understand innovation, business, and how to push the boundaries. Now, sometimes he pushes the boundaries too much, which makes for exciting stories, but anybody who cares about business and cares about society in Korea has to know that the reason Korea has a great economy is because it's innovative. It's always doing new things. It knows how to innovate. It knows how to manufacture. Well, so does Elon Musk. So you're going to read a lot of stories, and some of them don't have to do with manufacturing. They have to do with his girlfriends and his children and his crazy way of living. But a lot of them will give you lessons and inspire you. Some will also give you caution and say, I don't want to be that way. But most of them will inspire you and say, I'm going to be like him and push the boundaries of innovation.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your time with us with
Thank you for
SamproTV.
your very good questions.
Any chance you come to Korea? Like, we wanna
Invite me.
Okay, we'll invite you to the studio, and next time maybe we'll talk about the episodes and books and more.
Thank you so much, and thanks for all you do with this wonderful station and channel you have, because you're inspiring people to be better at business and better citizens.
Walter, it was excellent secret that when you said the secret, your secret is just listening. As a journalist, that is great lesson today I've got.
Well, we need that in all of our lives, is to be able to listen to other people.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Walter.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
실제로 어땠어요? 오늘 인터뷰를 해보니까.
저는 너무 영광이었고 아까 그 말씀하신 열정.
아, 그렇죠.
그리고 어떻게 보면 독선적일 수도 있지만 그거를 밀어붙이는 그 강단? 뭐 이런 것들. 그리고 실제로 뭐 에피소드들 말씀해 주셨는데 정말 어려운 시기들도 있었구나. 그게 또 그 사람을 또 단단하게 한 거구나.
일론머스크.
예. 그런 부분에서 많은 아이디어를 좀 얻었고 책 나오면 꼭 봐야지 이런 생각을 했습니다.
사실 이제 뭐 비교한다는 것 자체가 사실 그 저한테는 그 어려운 일이지만 뭐 불경스러운 일이지만은 한 사람의 이제 글을 쓰는 사람으로서 어떻게든 밸런스를 유지하는가. 아까 이제 처음에 시작을 했지 않습니까? 근데 사실 이 비결이 뭐냐고 물었을 때
네.
정말 잘 듣는 거.
잘 듣는 거.
잘 듣는 거. 사실 취재하다 보면 제가 말을 많이 할 때가 있습니다.
저도
정말 오늘 반성하랍니다. 오늘부터 좀 반성 모드로 들어가야 될 것 같습니다.
아까 그 말씀하시는데 월터 교수님이 그거는 듣는 거는 우리 인생 전체에 대한 또 아이디어기도 하다. 또 한번 배우고 갑니다.
아, 그렇죠.
네.
아, 정말 진짜. 어디 가서 말 좀 줄여야 되는데.
지금도 말이 좀 많습니다. 말이 더 많아지기 전에 오늘은 여기서 마무리하도록 하겠습니다. 신과 대화 오늘도 함께해 주셔서 감사하고요. 저희는 다음에 또 좋은 컨텐츠로 찾아뵙도록 하겠습니다. 감사합니다.
감사합니다.